Hi, I'm Janine. This is Janine Sews. Thank you so much for watching my channel. Today we're doing something different. I am outside. It's a beautiful day in late May, and I just thought it might be nice to go somewhere different and record. I suspect my neighbors are watching and thinking I'm crazy, but that's okay. In this video, I'm going to tell you about this dress that I've made. I was chased inside by the lawnmower 2 doors down. So unfortunately, we're not going to be outside for the whole time, but you saw a little bit of how beautiful it is here at this time of year. It's just perfect. Low humidity, gorgeous weather, everything's blooming. It's just fantastic. When we were in London, I noticed there were so many beautiful summer dresses everywhere, and people were wearing them for very casual or for dressy work. But it wasn't just people in heels and dresses. There were people in sandals, in trainers, in running shoes, in everything with dresses. And that was so inspiring to me that I came home and I wanted to make a dress. So I dug into my stash and I found this fabric, which I bought at the Fabric Mart Retail store a couple of years ago. When I bought it, I got all that they had, which was just under 2.5 yards. And my plan was to make a top. I was thinking of making either a short-sleeved or a long-sleeved top. I think I must have seen a picture on a pattern cover at some point, maybe at Tilly and the Buttons or something, where they had a really cute polka dot top. And the longer I had the fabric and the more I started thinking about shapes and what I'm looking for, the more I knew that this fabric was just not going to work in a frilly, fussy, poofy blouse. So it hung there. But I did want to really use it, and I knew I could probably eke out a dress if I found the right pattern. I looked at patterns online. A lot of the ones that I liked needed more fabric than I had, and I didn't want a color block. And I actually went out and paid full price and bought a downloadable pattern that I was planning to use. But it just didn't feel right. You know, sometimes it's like anything. You have a plan and you start envisioning it and you just know it's not going to be right. So instead I dug through my pattern stash and I found this pattern, which is Kwik Sew 978. This is a Kirsten Martinson Kwik Sew pattern. It's from 92, somewhere in that era. It's a very simple dress. I made this version previously. For that one, I used a poly crepe, and it was a very pretty burgundy, gold, black, and cream poly crepe. I think I actually recorded a video. If I recorded a video, I'm going to pop it up here, but here's a picture of it. I love the look of the dress. I used some what was it? Silk. It was a silk remnant that I used for the lining of the collar and the facing. That it was such a pretty dress. It went together so well. It fit really nicely. But you know, I've never worn it because the colors just aren't right for me. When I put it on, I just don't feel great. I feel washed out. But I liked the pattern. And the pattern does not need much fabric. For this version that I made, which is this version. This one has the placket with buttons. Otherwise, it's pretty similar. For this version, I needed, let's see here, that's for view B. I only needed 1.5 meters of fabric. So, the choice was made. I knew that this fabric would be nice in a very simple dress. So I cut out this pattern, washed the fabric, cut it out, and I did not have iron-on interfacing, so I used sew-in interfacing for a change. And it went together really well. Has this nice front placket. I've got a close-up picture of it here. And the pattern called for 3 buttons. I put on 5 because I measured the apex and then I spaced everything out, and I wound up with 5 buttons. This is one of the better button plackets that I've ever sewn, so I'm very pleased with it. I did take my time. And I almost think that using the sew-in interfacing was better. I just didn't have the same kind of problems that I normally would with lining it up. But it could just be that I'm actually learning how to do some things a little bit better. So this went together very well. Otherwise, it's so simple. No facings or anything. The sleeves are just narrow hems. And initially, I used one of the really pretty hem stitches on my machine for the sleeves. Looked really nice, but I could feel the stitching on my arm because the sleeves could be just, well, I think it's the fabric. Like, you know, they kind of pull up here. Not really uncomfortable because I'm not walking around like this all the time. But with the hem stitching on it, it just didn't feel great. So I picked that out and just used a regular stitch. Now the skirt for this. This skirt has slits in it. And when I was cutting this out, I realized that this is poplin. It's gonna crease. So I decided to line the skirt. My presumption is that having the lined skirt means that it won't crease as badly. I haven't worn this to work yet. I haven't worn this to drive around in a car, so I don't know if that assumption was good. We'll find out one day. But I wound up lining just the skirt because the fabric isn't really see-through. It was just more a concern about creases. So it had the slits in it, and I had the slits in the lining, and I had the slits in the skirt, and I just knew that I wasn't going to be able to get them to line up perfectly so the lining wouldn't show. So instead, I just sewed the skirt right down to the hem, and that was fine. There's plenty of room for walking. It's not too tight at all. So that turned out to be a good solution. Next time, I suppose I could just interline the skirt fabric with the lining, and that might work well. I think there'll probably be a next time for this pattern. So this was one other thing that I added. Well, I'm undoing it. I added a belt. So as designed, this just has the elastic there. The placket is a fully functioning placket. I do need to open it to get this on and off. And then it just has this elastic waist. And I think that just looks really kind of, I don't know, crappy. Last time I made it, and this time I added a belt. And this time, the fabric was riding up when I was testing it, so I added carriers on the side, and then I did actually stitch the belt right there. So it's not going to ride up at the back, because that's the worst place for it. So I added the belt, took off the slashes in the skirt, and otherwise I just made it exactly as it was drafted. Why do I like this particular dress? Well, I like that I didn't have to do an FBA because it's got the elastic in it, so you don't have to do an FBA. I didn't change anything. I just cut it exactly as drafted for the 20. I like the way the neck goes together, something that you could certainly do with a contrast fabric. I like that it's got a little bit of sleeve. It's not sleeveless. But mostly, I like that it has a waist. Now, my waist is not very defined, so this is not a very well-defined waist, But if your waist were very well defined, you could just cinch this in. But if you don't have much of a waist, this is just nice, and it just kind of skims over the stomach. It's not so voluminous that it adds a bunch to your figure. It's just a very simple columnar dress with a waistband. And that's kind of a style that I feel quite comfortable in. So we know that I will be wearing this quite a few times over the summer. If you happen to see this pattern and you like this style, grab it because it's nicely drafted. It's got that beautiful thick paper. It's kind of a timeless style. I think you could make this in many different fabrics and it'd be quite nice. Because I was thinking all things dresses, Rick Rack Fabric Store, which is here in Calgary, had their 4th anniversary sale last weekend, so I went over there and I grabbed some fabric. And this is destined to be the next dress. This is a cotton lawn. I thought the colors were nice. They were a little bit different. I think they still work for me. And very pretty because this is so much lighter. I have a pattern picked out. This is going to be a dress that has a little bit more, a few more features to it, shall we say. The only question is, do I do it this way, cut it on the cross grain, or cut it on the grain? I'm not sure. I'm going to lay it out and see what happens. But I've got a lot of this fabric, so I can do this dress that I'm doing. It can be pretty big. Not wide, but it can be longer and have sleeves and everything. So that's the next project that I'm going to be starting on this weekend because summer is short here. And if you're going to make summer dresses and wear summer dresses, you'd better have them done in June or you'll be wearing them for about 3 weeks. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you following along on this little journey. I hope you are well, and I will see you soon with another new dress.